I say a good Erev Shabbos. We're in the middle of the sugya of Sheva Mitzvah B'nai Noach, and today's daf is basically almost all Agadata. So we had a daf yesterday, that had certain intense moments. Exactly what a Ben Noach is mitzvah in. We concluded with the shita of Rabbi Akiva. We gave just the Chazar a Ben Noach, that's not the one I want. Sheish Arroyas Asura of Ben Noach, we have that? Yes. Ha'aim, a mother, Eishes Av, stepmother, Eishes Ish, Achosa Me'imo, his maternal sister. That was learned out exclusively from Avimelech's conversation with Avram's conversation with Avimelech, Zocher Ubehema, and those who learn from the pasuk Akin Yazavish Imo. We went through the whole thing. So that was those are arroyas that were also Ben Noach. Very, very limited parsha, really. Or we did see the chiddush that Ben Noach's mutter bebitoi. He said Ben Noach's mutter bebitoi. We spoke at the Indian of Lot. Okay, we're up to the last thing we said is that if a person smacks a person in his cheek, it's like smacking the Shekhinah. So Magbia Avdoi. So we have Magbia Avdoi Shabbos Simin. This is a simin of someone who's not doing the best thing. Someone goes ahead and raises his hand against his friend. Someone lifts his hand against his friend. Afal P Shalayiko, even before he doesn't hit him. Nikra Rashi is called a Rasha. I think everyone knows this. Everyone knows this when they're a kid. Vayomer Rasha. So he said to this Lama Sakariyacha, why are you hitting your friend? It doesn't say that you are hitting. Lama Hikislay now, why did you hit him? The Lashon Avar, Lama Saka, Lashon the future. Lama Saka, Alpha Pishleiko Nikarasha. Even though what he said, Moshe said, Vayam Rasha. He called him a Rasha. Even though as of yet he hadn't hit him yet, but since he was about to hit him, he was called what? He was called a Rasha. The Ziri Yom Reb Chanina Nikra Chayta is called a Chayta. This pasuk is by Bnei Eli. Bnei Eli they misused they were mavasa kachim. They would take more than their part. Shnemar v'mloi lakachti b'chazaka. If you don't give me this, I'm going to take it away with chazaka. Meaning I'm going to take away with strength. This is considered the chatas of Chafni and Pinchas. The Bnei Eli was considered very, very severe. So you see the called chatayim when you can go ahead and misuse your power. Rav Huna Amar, he cuts a yada. You should go ahead and cut off his hand. No, not fooling around. Shnemar uzroya rama tishaver, and someone who lifts up his hand, it'll be broken. Rav Huna cuts yada. Rav Huna not only he put it into action, he actually did cut off a person's hand. Right. So if you look at the okay. So continue. Rav Lazo Aimer, Ein takana l'kfura. Shenemar v'ish zeroya loya aretz. A person who's zeroya, who uses his might, light to him is the aretz. So if you look at Rashi tells us a yesod over here. When the lines get wide, about 5 lines down, zeroya rama, he lifts up his hand. Says Rashi, Anun chesam beis, 5 lines down. Harogil loram yadei al chaveroi. Someone is rogel to go ahead and lift up his hands against his friend. So the key word there being rogel. We're talking about a person who does this all the time, not a person who does it once. Somebody once asked me, a girl once asked me, if a person embarrasses another person, doesn't have a chelik in elam haba, so I embarrassed this girl, so why bother? I mean, that's it. So I told her, first of all, this tshuva. And I said, more importantly, it doesn't mean a person who does it. I mean, a person who does it all the time. It's a person who does it all the time. A person has he's constantly going ahead and berating people, constantly embarrassing people. He doesn't think for others. I really, it's very interesting. What we find fascinating in the Goyish world very often is so awfully disgusting in our world. everyone goes ahead and admires Trump for the way he treats people. He can be an interview. He can be embarrassed. It's amazing, like what he can do, and people laugh at it. Like, well, look the way he handles himself by berating another person. Now, I'm the first person to laugh. I mean, I think he's a riot. But in his world, it's not one of Shev Mrs. Menoach, right? So let him go for it. But in our world, the Feinkeit, right, the lack of menschlichkeit that he personifies, it's nothing to it. I mean, he's a great president. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of what the expectation of how we're supposed to treat people, he's not correct. And certainly, lifting up your hand or there's a one of my favorite stories of all time. One of my favorite stories of all time is from the Blusheva Rebbe. Many years ago, I read this book, Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust. It came out. It was from the first books. There was a principal, Professor Yafa Eliach. She was a professor of Judaic studies in Brooklyn College, and what she did was your student, her this is great. Her book, she didn't write it. The students wrote it. They interviewed Holocaust survivors and they had to report it, and she collected the thing from the book. But the one she really did do was she interviewed the Blusheva Rebbitzin. The Blusheva Rebbitzin, and there were stories that were amazing. Anyway, this story really, 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 really resonated with me. It seems that the Blusheva Rebbe was in some camp, and the Nazi was belting him and hitting him. And as he was hitting him, he was saying, "You still believe you're the chosen people? You still believe you're the chosen people?" And you know what he said? As long as you're the one hitting, yes. I think it's gewaldig. It's a gewaldige Meister, fellas. As long as you're the one hitting, yes. You see, we speak about even a guy who's ruggled to want to hit somebody, right? That's the fine kind of the Jew. That's the fine kind of the Jew. The expectation of the Tselem Alikim that's in us, what we expected of us. I think it's very, very, Gemaras like this, you learn through them, but you go ahead and think about them and apply them to yourself. It's an appreciation for us what a Jew is. Appreciation of what a Jew is. The way we talk, the way we act. But certainly, in violence. Violence is such a part of the Goyish culture. Any movie you watch sells is violent. The violence is a big sale. It doesn't exist in the Jewish world. It doesn't exist. If you see a Jew hitting another Jew, think about it. As a kid in yeshiva, that was the Ma'aseh B'chol Yom, right? But again, when you grow up, the idea of someone hitting somebody, I remember an occasion somebody hit somebody in shul. To this day, I can never look at that person the same. I could not look at the person the same. No. Okay, anyway. As we said, Israel to the mighty loya aretz. Karka is given to the Bali Zroyas. Rashi brings, he goes, people, you have a piece of land, people are going to trespass, people are going to come. In other words, you got to be strong to be able to fight off the herd. Shnemar v'Yisrael loya aretz. Ramesh Lakish Maydich Siv Ovid ad Masai Yispal Lachem. It says, if someone goes ahead and he works the land, Yisba he'll be satiated with what? With lechem. A person goes ahead and makes himself an evet to the adama, Yisba lechem. He'll go ahead and he'll be saveh with lechem. From lav, but he's very, very lax when it comes to taking of his land, la Yisba lechem, then he won't be. So in other words, you have a piece of land, you're a farmer, you got to work hard. You never was a farmer who had it easy. Never had a farm who had it easy. It's you meshubah to the land. They say by Kayin veHevel that we got an insight into their personalities, where Kayin was Ovid Adama and Hevel was a Royat Soin. A Royat Soin gives you a lot of time to go ahead and being in the wilderness and thinking, and his boy did this. Mashenkein Ovid Adama is an Ovid Adama. V'amrish Lakish Ovid Kechavim Sheshavas Chayiv Misa. A guy who Shavas is Chayiv Misa. Now, Shenemar Yoim V'Layla Lo Yishbaisu. By day and night you shouldn't stop working. V'amamar as Shalahem Zui Misasan. Right? You're warned. You're warned that they it says by Noach, day and night you shouldn't stop. So if you are a guy who Shavas Yechayiv Misa. Amravina Filo Sheni B'Shabbos. It doesn't mean guys only on Shabbos. It means even what? On a day that's not. A day that's not. Even a Monday. You make Monday not. If you chai misa, let's say this is considered one of the seven mitzvahs v'neinayach. Says the Gemara, kiko choshev shava al tasei. The seven mitzvahs v'neinayach, guys, is sit and don't do kum ba'asei like choshev. You didn't consider kum ba'asei. Amid aleph, but dinim kum ba'asei. Who dinim is kum ba'asei. You go in and do dinim. Says Gemara, kum ba'asei v'sheva al tasei. You know, it's both. What? It's both. It's an assay to do, but it's also a loisa say not to do avel, guys. Don't do avel. Don't do an avla. So what's this Inyan of what of Shabbos? What's this Inyan of Goy and Shabbos? So let's see a Rambam, and we'll see. We'll speak out of Rakanti. Okay, this is not the Rambam I want. This is the Rambam I want. Okay. Akim shoysik b'Torah chayv misa. Guy who learns Torah is chayv misa. Lo yasik ela b'shev mitzvah shalem b'badi. Should only be yasik b'shev mitzvahs. V'chein akim sheshavas. An akim that shavas afilu b'yoyim mimoisachar even on a Monday, even during the week. Imoseu la'atzmoi. Listen what the Rambam here is an adjoiner, guys. Imoseu la'atzmoi k'moi Shabbos chayv misa. If he makes that day like Shabbos, he's chayv misa. And you don't even have to tell me if he makes it into a holiday. We don't let the goy be mechadish any type of religion. They can't be mechadish themselves from other things. You want to learn? You want to keep mitzvahs? Become a ger tzedek. Be a kabel kol mitzvahs. Or you keep your seven mitzvahs and don't add and don't detract. The maslik b'Torah Shabbos chadesh davar makan you give him malchus. V'oin shnei you punish him. U'maydin asay shu chayv misa, you tell him he's chayv misa. Al zeh avaleinu nera, but he doesn't get killed. So it's not like the zayin mitzvah you're going to give him sayif. He's mechuyev misa, but we warn him. The Rambam seems to say the concern is that if he learns, he's going to be mechadish different things. You know what's he'll create a new religion. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in the world there are the chosen people and the non-chosen people. Each one's got their own Torah. We have 613. They have 7. If they learn Torah, they may go ahead and create new things. Hey, that can never happen, right, guys? A new religion being Machadish? It's not possible. But look what happened. Guys, it's so unbelievable. If the guy would have kept saying mitzvahs, there would be no Christianity. There would be no Buddhists. There would be no Muslims. There wouldn't be any of this. This all came about by learning stuff and taking stuff, and particularly the Torah itself. You see in other religions, the chalakim of the Torah that are in their religions, right? Palm Sunday. We should say Palm Sunday, right? Palm Sunday, I mean, kratzmich tree. I mean, all these things have their makarwat in Sukkah, in Sukkah, different things. It says the Rambam, the chesaron is what? The chesaron is that if they're going to keep Torah and they're going to be mechadish Torah, and he throws in the Rambam Linyan Shabbos also. So I was speaking to my son Simcha Erev Shabbos. So he goes, about time you're saying share. I said, I'm saying share. I said, Simcha, you have anything good about a guy that's Shavas? So he told me, guys, something gavaldik. Listen, there's a sefer called the Rakanti. I'll give you the makar. The Rakanti is written on Chumash. It's in Shmois Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Yud Zayin. Shmois Lamed Aleph, Pasuk Yud Zayin. Listen to this Rakanti. What's this Indian of a guy keeping Shabbos? It was the mashal. Listen to this mashal. You have a king and a queen, and they're having a very, very, very intimate moment. They're with each other. Picture Chasim Vakal in the Yichud room. And all of a sudden, Punk comes along, somebody, and walks in. You're the king and the queen. What would the king do? He would say, sir, you don't belong here. He wouldn't say that. He would lop off his head. He's the king. He would kill him. In other words, Oisi beini u'beinechem. Shabbos, fellas, is the ice between us and Hashem. That's the intimate relationship. A goy coming into that relationship is like somebody walking into the king and the queen in an intimate moment. The Mela says to the Kanti, that's why the guy is Chayiv Misa. I think it's a beautiful mashal, right? It's a beautiful mashal to understand why a guy that's Shavas, like you have Shaykhs to this, you have no Shaykhs to this. This is Beini Beinechem. This is between Klal Yisrael and Hashem. This is the Yichud room. This is the intimacy, the special uniqueness. You don't have a makkah here. What are you doing here? You're Chayiv Misa. Now, I can't kill you, right? It's not one of the Zayim mitzvahs, we're going to see in a second. But nonetheless, guys, I think it's a very nice mashal to explain a guy that Shavas that want that. I thought it was beautiful, actually, that Shavas that we Chayiv Misa. It's a beautiful, beautiful mashal. Okay, weiter.
I have a great joke about a guy keeping Shabbos for after this year.
No, you said it already. Go ahead. No?
Two guys learned together for 30 years, Shas, Bavli, Yerushalmi. After 30 years, he says, Chaim, I have to tell you something. Sit down. He says, what? I'm not Jewish. What are you talking about? We went through Shas and Paiskim. You're not Jewish? Are you out of your mind? He goes, but a guy is Chayiv Misa if he keeps Shabbos. I always put a key in my pocket, so I should carry. So I didn't keep Shabbos. Because what are you talking about? There's an Erev. I don't hold to the Erev.
Okay. Anyway, right. Okay. I'm Ravina. I feel ashamed. Okay, I'm up to Nun Testament Aleph. Good. From Rabbi Yochanan, Oibid Kichavim Shoisik B'Torah Chayiv Misa. Now we saw the Rambam. Shenemar Torah Tzivalanu Moy Rasha. Now my Rasha can be either, guys, we can read it as my Rasha or Mi'u Rasa. So and for the Gemara, it says the Gemara Lanu my Rasha V'Leilahem. Right. So therefore, what the guy? It's not his. It's ours. It's not his. Now again, the Rambam, guys, remember the Rambam. The Rambam says you're worried concerning if he learns, it's going to create a new das. That's what you're worried about. And his mamish. So why don't we consider one of the 7 mitzvahs in learning Torah that he shouldn't do? And this is Shev al Tasle, sit and don't do. It says Mandam my Rasha, Migzal Kol Gazale. The one who reads it as my Rasha, so as Yerusha. If he's going to go ahead, it's the Rusha to the Yid, and if he's going to learn, it's like he's stealing. Manda Ama Mi'u Rasa, the one who says Mi'u Rasa, the lashon of Mi'u Rasa is Dinoi Kinaira Hamu Rasa. It's like the Daira Rasa, the Beskila. In other words, it's been considered already, fellas. It's been considered already. Mimanav Shach. If you read it, Parit Sivalan Moshe, my Rasha Kilas Yaakov, my Rasha Yovan Gezela. Mi'u Rasa is Yovan Gila Herois, by taking that away. Mesidei, you're telling me that a guy cannot go ahead and learn. He's like a kohen gadol. It doesn't say Kasha. You see that guy, a guy learning Torah is like a kohen gadol. I said he can't learn. So Hasam is 7 mitzvahs too. Right, guys? What could he learn? The 7 mitzvahs where you're not worried about even Mechadish and Torah. Then he could learn, right? Then he could learn. But Mashain came, anything more than that he can't learn. Just a famous question. There's Taisus here in other places. We say a goy is not metama tubis oil. Adam Asher Yomis oil, right? That a goy is not tubis oil, right? Because he's not called Adam. Oh, but here we see that what? That it says Adam and the guy is included. So we see this before, guys. This is in Adam and Ha-Adam. Adam, the guy is out of the ballpark. Ha-Adam, he's in the ballpark. Okay? Rav Chanina of Gamliel Leimer. Af Hadam Menachai. He said that not only is Mitzvah Ev Menachai, he says Af Dam Menachai. Even Dam Menachai, even the blood coming out of a chai would be asa to a ben nayach. So he's not only is a Eivim Menachai a limb, but even Dam Menachai. Ravina Rabbi Chinim Gamliel Leimer Afa Dam Menachai. My time with the Rabbi I skipped. Afa Dam Menachai. Tan Rabbanan Ach Basa Benafshe Dam Lo Sachelu. It says Ach Basa Bedam. Dam loisachelu. This is the Eva Menachai. This is the word of Eva Menachai. Rechanim Megamliel Oima Afadam Menachai. My time dem Rechanim Megamliel Kari Bay. So here's the way read the pasuk, guys. Basa benafshoy loisachal. Damay benafshoy loisachal. So if you look at the pasuk, it says benafshoy, and then it says basa benafshoy and damay. So he takes the then loisachelu. So he says the basa loisachelu and dam loisachelu when benafshoy. So if the nefesh is in the basa, it's still alive. Or the dam is in and it's still alive, loisachelu. He plays around with it. Rabbanon who say that you don't learn that from there. Why do they learn with that lima? What's the damai over there coming to teach me? Comes to go ahead, Rod, and that there's no din of Eva Menachai by a sheretz. There's no din of Eva Menachai. In other words, damai. We're going to see the limit on the base, fellas, but basically, when you have a Baal Chai, a living animal, there's two parts. There's the basa part and there's the dam part. The sheretz, you don't have that distinction. They seem to be one and the same. There's no distinction of basa of a sheretz and dam of a sheretz, right? So a crab, something like that. You view them, they don't have the sheretz. They don't. It's one zach.
The dam doesn't apply by sheretz?
No.
It's a whole thing. It's a sheretz.
Dam and achai, yeah, right. It's dam and achai. Dam and achai does not. In other words, the din of Evim and achai would not apply by a sheretz. If dam comes out of a sheretz, you wouldn't have a din of, you can't eat it because it's dam, but it's dam and achai, yes. I don't know about that. Again, I don't know by sheretz not. Again, you have to know what the sheretz is. There's shmeine shvatzim, certainly if a mouse has a body and blood. Anyway. Similar, we say, Rak chazak levilti ochal adam, ki adam hu benefesh, v'leisachal nefesh basar. Okay, so that's a similar concept. Rabbanon, what do you do with the dam of that pasuk? Ahu l'dam akaza, to teach me the dam of if you makis dam, if you go ahead and bloodlet. Shanashama yotzeba, hu da'asa. That's what it comes to teach me. Not dam and achai, it comes to teach me dam akaza. Lamali l'michlev mei noyach, lamali l'mishni b'sina. Okay, guys, why by evim and achai you go ahead and you said it two places, right? We said it by Ben Noach. We said it by Ben Noach. Ben Noach says Oichel Toichel, and it says Ach Bas Ben excuse me. It says Ach Bas Ben Ashul Dam Chelu. Good. And then it says by us Rak Chazak Levilti Achol Adam Ki Adam Lenevesh. In other words, why repeat it? Why are you repeating Yisrael Menachai? You give it before Matan Torah and you give it after Matan Torah. Lamali Lemeshani B'Sinai. Says the Gemara, halt cup, guys. Kid Rabbi Yossi v'Chanina. Rabbi Yossi v'Chanina, kol mitzvah shenemra lebnei Noach. Any mitzvah that was given over to bnei Noach, v'nishnis b'Sinai and repeated by Sinai, lezeh ulezeh nemra. It was said what to both. That makes a lot of sense. The guy was mitzvah guys in Gili Aroyas and Shvichas Damim and Avodah Zarah. It was repeated again by Sinai. The Mela the Mechuyev in both. However, this makes no sense. The next thing, Nemra lebnei Noach. If it was said to a ben Noach, v'loy nishtas b'Sinai, and it wasn't repeated by Sinai, then the Yisrael Nemra v'loy lebnei Noach. Guys, listen to what I just said. If it was said to a ben Noach, but was not repeated by Sinai, it only applies to the Jew. That makes no sense. If it was said to the Ben Noach and it wasn't said to the Jew, it should only apply to the Ben Noach. Guys, this is what I'm saying. It was said to the Goy, was not repeated by Matan Torah, then it's only to the Jew. If it was said to the Goy and not repeated, I would say it's only to the Goy and not to the Jew. It's the exact opposite. The Eina anu and us, Ein lanu ella giranasha. The only one where you find this applies is by giranasha. Giranasha was said to Yaakov Avinu before Matan Torah. It seems it wasn't repeated, and therefore a goy is not mitzvah in giranasha, but a Jew is mitzvah in giranasha. As I state, that's what the Gemara says. Let's see Rashi over here. Rashi, guys, where the lines get wide, go up 2 lines before the line. No, it's the middle lines. The middle, go up 3 lines at the end of the line. V'chol shlei nishnis b'Sinai, Nemal Yisrael v'loy b'nei Noach. Anything that wasn't repeated by Sinai is stated to Yisrael, not b'nei Noach. Misina ve'elach. Afal gav at Sinai nitztavu aleha. Even though until Sinai they were commanded on this. Midlei choda Tanya b'Sinai, when they didn't go ahead and repeat it by Sinai, Kedeisa b'avodas kechavim gilei arayos, like we find that was repeated by Sinai and avodas kechavim. The Ashken the onishay b'kechavim alayu. We see that a guy is punished for avodas zara. Shmamina Yisrael sheyetzu l'kedusha omdu b'isurim. Yisrael that went to kedusha, they stay in the Isser. Aval oivik kechavim not lon mehen. It was taken away from them. Rashi tells you the svara, guys, how this works. Eye contact. Eye contact. What are you telling me? Until Matan Torah, all the world was noig this mitzvah. Comes Matan Torah, it was not repeated. Says Rashi, you know what happened now? Bnei Yisrael b'ktushasa, they took this mitzvah. But it wasn't repeated to say that the goy, it was taken away from them. They no longer have it. Rashi is telling you a svara of a very hard concept, guys, because it really is counterintuitive. It's mamish seems to be the opposite. You mechuyev until now, and it's not repeated, and all of a sudden you're not mechuyev. That makes no sense. Says Rashi, here's the svara. The svara is the following. Taka was us until now. Comes Matan Torah, I didn't repeat it. You know why I didn't repeat it? It wasn't necessary for me to repeat it because you, the Am HaKodesh, will keep it. Mashen came, the goy, I'm taking it away from them now. I'm taking it away from them, and they're not going to have it anymore. That's why you state in Rashi. And the explanations were very, very hard concept. And the only thing we have, guys, that fits the bill is Gid Anosha. The only thing we have that fits the bill is Gid Anosha. So, Hastus, according to this Gemara, the goyim they kept Gid Anosha up until Matan Torah, and after Matan Torah, what's the lashon? Ubnei Yisrael lo yachol Gid Anosha ara yom hazeh. Right? Does it say Bnei Yisrael there? I'm not. You know what? I'm gonna check some 1 second. Read the pasuk.
Al kain lo yochlu b'nei Yisrael es Gid Hanosha.
It's very meduyik, guys. Right? It's very meduyik. Bnei Yisrael. This is before Matan Torah. Why did he have to say Bnei Yisrael? Because it wasn't nishnis by Sinai. Guys, it's a beautiful diak. Guys, listen. Yaakov Avinu gets smacked in his Gid Hanosha. Al Kain, who doesn't eat it? Bnei Yisrael. This is way before Matan Torah. What are you telling us, Bnei Yisrael? There is no Bnei Yisrael yet. So they're telling you, no, based upon this Gemara, very geschmack what they're telling you. The reason why Bnei Yisrael don't eat it, even though it wasn't repeated by Matan Torah, is because it was given now. And with this Yesod, it makes beautiful sense. With the Yesod, it makes beautiful sense. It wasn't repeated because I wanted Bnei Yisrael. They kept it, and they kept on keeping it. But only Bnei Yisrael, not the Goyim. Very geschmack. Very, very geschmack. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. Amamar, kol mitzvah shenemra lebnei Noach, v'nishnas b'Sinai. It was said to the Goyim and repeated by Sinai, L'zel zed nemra. Okay, again, classic, Agilei Aroyes and Avodah Zarah. Adarabba, midinishnas b'Sinai b'Yisrael nemra v'lei b'nei Noach. Okay, so let's say the opposite. When it was repeated, it must be, you know what? Why did I have to repeat it? Because I'm commanding you now. In other words, the mashmois is, why am I repeating it? You've been keeping it until now. No, what I'm doing right now is I'm commanding you now, and only you by Sinai. As I read the Gemara, and for the Gemara, no. Mid the isnei avodas kechavim b'Sinai, v'yashin the onish avodas kechavim elavayu shmamino l'zel zenemra. We find out what that goyim were punished for avodas zara, thrown out of Eretz Yisrael and Eretz Canaan and such. So obviously the what that it was l'zel nemra. The second part of the brisa, the one that we are having problems with, l'bnei Noach v'lo nishnis b'Sinai. It was given to Bnei Noach and wasn't repeated at Sinai. L'Yisrael nema v'lo Bnei Noach. It was given to Yisrael and not to Ben Noach. And we said the only thing you have is Gid Hanosha. For the Gemara, the obvious question, Adarabba, midoloi nishnis b'Sinai l'Bnei Noach nema v'lo Yisrael. Right? How is it possible? I'd say that what? when it wasn't given at Sinai, it must be that it stops right there. In other words, the Goyim kept it. It wasn't given to Klal Yisrael because why? Because it wasn't. Says Gemara, no, it's not possible. Why? Because leka lemeidam the Yisrael shari loved kechav masa. It's not possible that something should be mutter to Yisrael and a goy should be asa. So what are you saying? Get anasha was asa until now. Now it wasn't given at Sinai. It's going to be mutter. We don't find anything that will be mutter for Yisrael and asa to a goy. So Mamela, it has to be that now it's asa to Yisrael and mutter to a goy. It's the opposite. And again, using the svara of Rashi, right? That because the Kedusha B'nai Yisrael, it's taken away from them, and given to us. Fregdam of Eloi, I'll show you something, fellas, that's mutter to a Jew and asa to a goy. By Yefas Toya, a Jew is able to take a Yefas Toya in battle, and a goy is not. A Jew is able to take a Yefas Toya in battle, and a goy is not. So you see something that's mutter to a yid and asa to a goy. Says there, it's not because it's a mitzias of something. They're not b'nei kibush. Rashi says, the land wasn't given for them to conquer. Kiyam Yisrael. Sha'af Yisrael leichuta yefas taya el b'mulchama al yedei kibush. We had a milchemes mitzvah. You capture Eretz Yisrael. So not pshat, you have a mitzvah to go ahead and get yefas taya. If b'shas kibush, you happen to find yefas taya. But a goy does not have a din of kibush. Memela, you know why? It's asa. They don't have a chance for yefas toyar because yefas toyar is only b'shas kibush, and they're not in the ballpark of kibush. Okay, that's the teretz to that. Fred Gemara, I'll show you something that a goy is mitzuva in and is asa to, and a Jew is muta. Bahari says the Gemara, Bahari pachas mishava pruta. We said a goy is mechuyev afilu pachas mishava pruta. Yet a Jew what is not. So you see, we're more severe by the goy. And for the Gemara, that's not the Jew. It's the same thing, but the Jew is Michael, the goy is not. I find one of the most fascinating things in the Goyish world, they think Jews, you're getting Jewed. You know, the only anti-Semitic traps is that you're getting Jewed. You know, that we love money and we hoard money, and it's exactly the opposite. If anything, it's exactly the opposite. If you look at Rashi, fellas, we're also mitzvah. In other words, but so what's pachas mishav pruta? Aval pachas mishav pruta ain't a nechshav gesel beineim. She'oivrim al midasan. You know why? If someone steals you less than a shav pruta, you're Michael. You're oivan lemida. Why? Sherachmonim hein. Because Jews are marachmonim umoichlem al dava kal. Aval b'nei noyach achzorim heim. State in Rashi. B'nei Yisrael the achzorim. They can't fagin you even less than a shava pruta. The action is the same. It's not pshat that the guy is muta and is asa and the Jew is muta. They're both taka asa. If the gezel's asa, it doesn't make any sense. If you take away something, you're taking away something, fellas. Elama, if it's less than a shava pruta, by b'nei rachmanim, we don't consider it anything. But the guy who the aksar, even less than that. But again, I find it so fascinating. I find very interesting the some of the things that we're guilty of using blood for matzahs. Guys, the Dam Halilas throughout the centuries, it's been there forever. Yet it's also for us to eat blood. Yet a guy, they eat blood all the time. They don't salt their meat. They don't care. They eat blood all the time. All the time. But Jews, it's amazing. Jews, money hungry. They're much more makbid. The benevolence of a guy. Think what tzedakah they give, right? Rich goyim give you. You see the tzedakahs, fellas, it's unbelievable. But they give. But they consider big tzedakahs. I learned with a wealthy guy. He raised his money. He told me, he said that, I asked him, what was the most amazing thing? He goes, I sat down by a parlor meeting, and I said, we have a budget of $50 million. There were 25 guys there. In a minute, I had $25 million. In a minute. Go for a guy how long it takes to make $25 million. You can't it vorstellen, and yet it's just amazing. The opposite. It's just the opposite. It means the opposite. Kol mitzvah shenemar l'bnei noach l'nish b'sinai l'zel zenemra amid beis. V'harei mila shenemar l'bnei noach d'chsiv v'ata es brisi tishmar. Avram, Akash Baruch says to Avram, right? Watch my bris. V'nishis b'sinai. It was repeated by Sinai. U'bayom hashmini yimol limal Yisrael. Limal end. L'Yisrael nemra v'loy l'bnei noach. It was said to Yisrael and not Bnei Noach. Again, we want to go ahead and break your rule. Your rule is if something was repeated, it's chayav both goyim and not mitzvah v'mila. As a matter of fact, we refer to them as arelim. We refer to them as non-circumcised. But 1 second, it was repeated by Sinai. So they should be what? They should be chayav. And for the Gemara, no. Ha'hil mishri Shabbos hu da'asa. It's not repeated at Sinai, fellas. It was only given, the first teretz, it was only given to Bnei Noach. And it wasn't repeated at Sinai. Since it wasn't repeated at Sinai, it only applies to the Jew. So what does it mean over here, B'yom Hashmini? It's coming to teach us, L'mishri Shabbos Hudasa. B'yom Hashmini, V'afilu B'Shabbos. Even what if it's Kazan and Shabbos? So it's telling me that you're not getting a new tziva mitzvah, you're getting a new nukuda of the mitzvah. You're getting the hagbolas zman of the mitzvah when the mitzvah applies. But you're not going ahead and getting what? A new tzivoy. So therefore, this blibes, fellas, like a mitzvah given to Bnei Noach and not repeated by Sinai, which is only to a yid. So it goes into that category. Yes.
But Yishmael had a bris, so
Right.
so Goyim.
That was because of what? But we'll see Yishmael in a second. We'll see.
Oh,
We'll see
that's because of Yitzchak.
We'll see some. We'll see soon in a second. Yisrael kim kafayim menashe yivrecha nevishmecha yardne plevel chavinaka yisne v'lecha v'yasem cheshalom. I'm in the middle of the share. You'd think he'd call. Okay, anyway. Another Fred Gemara, very pir v'rivya, the mitzvah pir v'rivya shenemar lebnei noach. D'chsiv v'yatem peru urevu. This said to Noach. V'yatem peru urevu v'nishus b'Sinai. Where was it repeated by Sinai? Lech emor lehem shavu lechem le'alechem. After Matan Torah, go back to your tents, right? L'Yisrael nemra v'loy lebnei noach. That was said to Yisrael and not bnei noach. So l'chayra, according to your rule of thumb, anything that was stated to bnei noach and repeated by Sinai, both Jew and Goy are mechuyev, right? That's your rule of thumb. Anything that was repeated, you're chayevin. So here you have a repetition, and nonetheless, what? Jews are mitzvah and perivivia, and Goyim are not. So we give a similar teretz. It's not a new tzivui, fellas. It's not a new tzivui. It's coming to teach us another halacha. Says Rashi, what's that halacha? Second line down. Tashmish shlesh yomim kaidem an Torah. Ulacha shlesh yomim hutzich lahat lehem. V'afagav dem memele mishtama hetera the shlesh yomim hu de'asa ayva avru. Guys, what did we say? For 3 days you have to separate from your wife. Would I know that day 4 you can go back? Yeah, it said 3 days separate from your wife. So why did I have to say go back? On that, Rashi tells us. Rashi explains the Gemara. V'afagav dem memele mishtama hetera the hetera the shlesh yomim hu de'asa vari avru ashmin and krua. The chol dava hanesa b'minyan bezdin afa pisha kavu zman ledava tzorch limnois pam acheres bezdin has to get together lehatiroi kishav azman. So in other words, it wasn't enough that you can infer; you have to go ahead and matter it again. So that's why it was given. It wasn't given for a new mitzvah. So memela, that's why ben noach is not mitzvah because it's not considered nishnas b'sinai. It's restated because in order to go back to your wife, you need a minyan of dayanim to come together again. If that's the case, kol chodev chodev nami, name mishum milsa isni. If that's the case, why don't we say by every mitzvah nei noach? The reason it was repeated is for what? For whatever reason. So let's see Rashi again. Ihachi kol sheva mitzvah shechosu v'nishnu b'Sinai. All the 7 mitzvahs that were repeated by Sinai. Name nami kol achas v'achas chutzku lishnois al davar. Kigoin, for example, avodas kechavim lefarish misa. What misa do you get for avodah zara? What actually you have to do? Avodas hasurim ba, right? In other words, if you just hug it or kiss it or say hi to it, you're not going to get killed. You need to tell me bowing down to it. You need to tell me doing nisach to it. You need to tell me going ahead and bringing karbanis to it. You have to tell me. So Malin, maybe it wasn't nishnis. Vigili aroyas lefarish einson, what they get. The name of the kula initially Yisrael menesuv lebeneinach. In other words, guys, if that's the case, that by Mila and by Mila and Pir Verivya, it's not considered repetition. So let's say also by Avodah Zarah, by Gilei Rice, it's also not a repetition. Why did you repeat it again? To tell us halachas concerning it, just like by Mila you said Shabbos, and just like what? By Pir Verivya wanted to tell us that a Davish Minyan. And for the Gemara Hachi Kamar, Azhara mehadar umasni ba. Right? Why would they have to go ahead and give an azhara? Rashi lamahadar umichtav azhara ditu. Why do you have to repeat the warning? In other words, not that you got the nishna the mitzvah, nishna the azhara. Why do you have to repeat the azhara? To tell me that they're both what? They're both chayiv. So again, our rule of thumb: anything that was repeated by Sinai after Mount Torah, both are mechuyev. Anything that was given to a ben Noach and not repeated by Sinai is only Jews, and that's only Giran Nosha. That's the only thing you found. Freddy Gemara, Mahadeh Mr. Balamali, Vein Lanu Ela Giran Nosha Bilvad, Balib Reb Yehuda, Hani Nami Lo Isni, right? Hani Nami, Mila and Pir Verivya should also be considered along with Giran Nosha, because they were only repeated for the things that you needed for, right? Guys, you said the rule of thumb. Anything that was given to a guy and not repeated by Sinai is only for the Jews. What's that? What's that? Giran Nosha. But right now, I have Mila and Pir Verivya, also not repeated. So therefore, that's also only the Jews and not the Goyim. Because both Mila was given before Matan Torah and Pir Verivya was given Matan Torah. What was repeated? There wasn't a repetition. Mila was for that. The Mila's on the seventh day, on the eighth day, even Shabbos, and Pir Verivya that what you needed a Davar Sheba Minyan of a Bezdin. So let's consider that in the same gather as Giran Nosha. Why do you limit your rule of anything that was given before Matan Torah and not repeated to Giran Nosha? I'll include Mila and Pir Verivya. Let's include those two. Haninami lo isna ha isna l'shemilsa ba'alma huda lo isna klal. So iba yisema Mila may karol Avram huda mazale rachmana va'ata esbrisi tishmar ata v'zarecha achrecha l'dayraisam ata v'zarecha in a shechrin aloi. Okay, now we're gonna have Nassan's question in a second. So fellas, what's the teretz? It wasn't given to Bnei Noach. It was given to Avraham Avinu. It wasn't given to all of mankind. It was given to Avraham Avinu. Fred the Gemara Elamiata. It was given to Avraham Avinu Bnei Yishmael l'chayvai, because they're the zera of Avraham. So Bnei Yishmael shemichayiv and Mila. And then he showed this to an Arab. Ki beyitzak yikar l'chazara. Like if they're 13 years old, they have a bris milah. Show them this Gemara. Ki beyitzak yikar l'chazara. But it says, in Yitzchak I will call you children, right? And what does that teach me? Ki be Yitzchak and not Yishmael. Avraham Avinu has to send away Yishmael because Baruch says, don't let it bother you sending him away. You know why? Ki be Yitzchak ekar l'chazara. Only Yitzchak is Yizera. Yishmael is not Yizera. Memela, they're not given Mila. That answers your question, Nassim. They're not given Mila. They're not the Zera of Avram. They're not the Zera of Avram. Since they're not the Zera of Avram, they're not given the mitzvah of Mila. Fred Gemara, Bnei Esav l'chayiv. If that's the case, Bnei Esav should be mechuyev. Bnei Esav should be mechuyev because after all, they're the zera of Avraham. Says Gemara, be Yitzchak, ki be Yitzchak the beis, v'loy kol Yitzchak. Not all the children of Yitzchak are considered the zera of Avraham. You see, you always think about it, guys. Yishmael's mother was Hagar. His father was Avram. He was conceived when Avram was an Oral. Yitzchak's father was Avraham. His mother was Sarah. So there is a huge distinction between Yishmael and Yitzchak. So I can understand why Yishmael is not considered the Zerah of Abraham. Esav, Yitzchak was the father, Rivka was the mother. Where's the distinction? Biologically, there's no distinction, right? What's the difference? Ki beyitzchak yikar l'chazara. Okay, here's your Torah for Pesach, say the guys. Ki beyitzchak yikar l'chazara. Who's the zera of Yitzchak? Right? What does it say in Bris Ben Abisara? Right? Ki ge yezaracha be'eretz lo lahem. Who's considered the zera of what? Of Avraham? The ones who will be Makayim, the Bris Ben Abisarim. Esav, what does the Torah tell us? They went to Haseir. Why do we stressing they went to Haseir? Because they didn't go to Mitzrayim. They didn't. Memela, biologically, they are. But the ones who would be considered the Zerah of Avraham, the ones who Makuyim what? The Bris Ben Abisarim. In other words, Ki Yitzchak kol Zara in Yitzchak v'loy kol Yitzchak. But who decides? Why is it Yaakov over Esav? It could be either one of them, right? That decides, the deciding factor. You know what decided it? Us going to Mitzrayim. Esav, Aseir. There it is. Kishmak is anything. Maskav lo Rav Oishia. Alamiata b'nei kotura loy l'chayvai. Now b'nei kotura seem they do mila, but they didn't do priya. So b'nei ketura, since kibi Yitzchak and Karl Chazara, b'nei ketura should not do mila at all. It says Rabbi Yosef Chanina as brisi hefar. The rabbi is b'nei ketura. Okay, this brisi hefar seems to be a ribui to include what b'nei ketura. Who ketura was is a shaila. Was he Hagar, not Hagar? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Adam Arishain nu sugya. Adam Arishain lehutalei basal achila. Wasn't mutter, again, we saw the Ramban, right? We spoke at the Ramban, the Dimyon of Nefesh. T'chsiv, lachem yeh la'achla, l'chol chayas ha'aretz, v'loi charas ha'lachem. You're supposed to eat the grass and stuff, but you don't eat the chayas. Ukeshaboy b'nei Noach, and when the Noach came along, hitta lahem. Then it was mutter, it mattered them to go ahead and eat meat. And we spoke at the Ramban beautifully, right? That showed the difference between the neshamis of what? Of a Jew and a guy, of an animal and a person. Shneimar, Ki yerek esef nasati lachem. I'm giving you kol remish, anything that's remish on the aretz. Ki yerek esef nasati lachem. Es kol yachol. Es kol yachol. Lo yehei evim menachai noig ba. I might think that evim menachai is not noig. Tamaloi ma ach basa benafshay damaloi sechelu. So in other words, it's given, even though evim menachai was asa beforehand, guys, because of what achol taichal from the pasuk of Eitzav Kamal Adam. It's stated again by Ben Noach. Don't think that you can eat animals now. You're permitted to go ahead and eat Avim. Don't think you're permitted to go ahead and eat Avim and Achai. What's called? I didn't read it right. Kierkes inside lechem kol yachal lo yehei Avim and Achai. Yachal af l'shwatzim. That there's a din. I would think there's a din of Avim and Achai by shwatzim. This is the limit we spoke on the Yaman Aleph. In other words, there's a place where it's a miyat. Not all Eva Minachai is asa. There's tam Eva Minachai that's muta. What is that? Umay Talmuda. What's the limit? Why is the Eva Minachai from Shratzim permitted? Amravuna damoy. Misha dami cholak mibsarai. The one that's blood is separate from its body. That's when Eva Minachai is asa. Yatzu Shratzim shein damim cholak mibsaram. This would exclude a sheretz where the dam is not cholak from its basa. Mesidei, you're telling me that Adam could not eat meat. It says v'yirdu b'dkasayom. You should go ahead and rule. How do you rule over the fish? Must be you could eat the fish. Must be you could eat the fish. So you see, fish has a din of basa. My lav lachila loyla malacha means working the fish. For every more of a dog and b'nei malacha, they know how can you work fish? So kiderachba, the boy rachba. Now we notice the din of like sachrish, like Sachroi Shmor v'Chamor Yachdav. You can't go ahead and work, hold them together, b'shas, right? You're walking along with them, you can't do it. It's a din of Kalayim. Now, he had the following question. Hinig ba eiz b'shivuta. Let's say you're working, a fish is shivuta, and a goat, and you're walking along with them together. Mai, is that considered klayim? So what do you see from there? You see from there that what? That it's that you could work with a fish, as remote as that sounds. So the pasuk says, "Vayomer lekim inin asakil chem eskoleis vasadas zarei zera shel penikoretz eskoleis shaboy priates zarei zera lechem yelachla l'chol chayis oretz l'chol oifa shemayim l'chol roimes al oretz ashaboy nefesh chaya eskol yorek esav lachla v'yichein." Okay, so it's mashma over here that what that you redo b'gas hayom, that you work for yivarach hashem alekim vayomer lehem peru uvu milos oretz v'kivshua uredu b'gas hayom. You should go ahead and rule over b'gas hayom. So rule over the dog, rule over the oif and the chayas. So we said anything we want to know, the rule means to eat. That's the havamina. So you told me Adam couldn't eat meat. So we're saying by fish it means to work. The next part of the pasuk says u'boif shemayim. My lav lachila doesn't mean you can eat it. So you see you can eat meat. So it mean working birds. Can you work a bird? You can work a bird. Kidaboy Rabba bar Rav Huna, Dosh bar Vozim Tanagoyim. If you go like Sachs Mishar, so you dosh with ducks and chickens. So you see that what they could work. Rabbi Yosef Rechanina Mai Tashma. So you could work with ducks and chickens. Good. You could work with ducks and chickens. Now, Yehuda, who I guess he holds that why does he hold over there? He says you can be. Where's Yehuda? I don't know where that comes from. I guess he's in the Gemara there, so they have a whole sugya there. According to him, what's the story? Okay. Now the pasuk continues. Tashma b'chol chayis haremes al aretz. You should rule over all the chayis that are remesh on the aretz. So the chayra, what does that come to mean? Hahul asuye nachash hu da'asa. That a nachash you'll rule over the nachash. And the chayra, what kind of work can the nachash do? The Tanya, listen to this. Reb Shimon ben Nasi Omer. Chaval al shamish gadol she'avim min ha'olam. Chaval on the great servant that was lost from the world as a result of the Cheder Esadas. Shamali niskal hanachash, the nachash wasn't cursed. Kol echa v'echem Yisrael, ha'im is dam le'shnei nachashim toivim. Each person, Klal Yisrael, would have gotten 2 good snakes. Echad mishager l'tzafa, and one he could send to the north. The echad mishager l'dora, and one he could send to the south. K'dei lehevi loy, in order to bring him sandal boinim toivim, that's precious gems. V'avanim toivus magolias. You'll be able to tie a ritzua underneath the tail, and he'll be able to go ahead and be mitzi, would be work for you. He'll be able to work for you. So you see that you couldn't eat meat, and when the pasuk speaking about all these animals, it's linyan malacha, that you rule over them linyan malacha. Meisivei, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema Omer, Adam Arishain, Meisiv began Eden Haya. Adam Rishon was lying in Gan Eden. They were barbecuing meat. They were boiling meat. And they were straining from wine. Hitzitz by Nachash. Nachash took a look what was happening. He saw the cover that it was noig by Adam. And he was jealous. The bottom line is to see that the Malachim were feeding him meat. But he told me Adam couldn't eat meat. Says Gemara Chasam Basa Hayar Mishamayim. That's speaking about Basa that came down from Shemayim. Basa comes down from Shemayim. That you could eat Basa that is in this world you can't eat. Is there such a thing? In Kihod Shimon ben Chalafta, Abi Ka'azal Shimon ben Chalafta was going on the way. Pagaboy Hanach Arivasa, he met this group of lions. The Havikot Nomne Lape, they were roaring and coming towards him. In other words, they were viewing him as a snack. So Amar Rav Shimon ben Chalafta said, Akfirim She'agim L'teref. Right, the kfirim, the cubs, she'agim, they're roaring l'teref for food. So nechisuloi tarti atmasa. 2 thighs came down from Shemayim. Chada achlua, one of them was eaten by the lions. That satiated their appetite. The chada shavkuha, and one that they left over. So what happened? Rav Shimon ben Chalafta picked it up. I see V'yosel the Beit Midrash. He brought it to the Beis Medrash, and boy, he asked the following shaila: Davar Tamehu Zeh a Davar Tahar? Is this a Davar Tameh or is it a Davar Tahar? No, it came from Shemayim, right? It's Tahar Tameh. So Amaloi, they told the Beis Medrash said, "Ain't Davar Tameh Yom Shemayim." It's not a Davar Tameh, meaning is it treif? No, it's not treif. You can eat it. So you see, there's something called Basam in Shemayim. Boy miner b'zeira ma'avohu. Yordaloi the muschamor mahu. You're telling me that it comes from Shemayim, it's mutter to eat. What happens if it looks like a donkey? So in other words, if it looks like a donkey we know you can't eat a donkey. What happens if it looks like a donkey? Somebody Ravo told Rabbi Zera, Yorid Nola. In other words, basically not a nice lashon about being a foolish what, a foolish bird. Anyway, Ha'amrulei, Shein Davar Tameh Yer Mishamayim. So when he asking a question, we've said there's no Davar Tameh that comes from Shemayim, therefore there's nothing to worry about. So we concluded today about Davar Chila and Bnei Noach. We wish everyone a great Shabbos, and thank you for listening. And we will now say a kapitel of Tehillim. I have to make a correction. I quoted a tshuva for Rav Moshe about abortion. I quoted the wrong place. It's in Choshen Mishpat Chelik Sheni, but it's not Sadik Tes, it's Samich Tes. Samich Tes, Rav Moshe's tshuva, if you want to look it up, it's a very long tshuva, but it's fascinating tshuva. Anyway, have a great Shabbos, everybody.